I guess the scene you're referring to is when they're inside my mouth and they're ill. I worked with, there's a brilliant entomologist named Dr. Norman Gary, who's out of Berkeley and where else. And, he assured me that he was cultivating stingerless, wingless bees that wouldn't be disturbed if they were inside my kind of huge cavernous mouth. And every day he would walk me up to his little hives that he had developed on the rooftop of the studio. And I elicited the services of a hypnotist to sort of get into a calm, trance-like state. And eventually I was able to stick my hand into the heart of the hive and just feel him crawl over me. So I felt an affinity with him. Until the day, 2 days before we shot the scene, they kept sending out memos to the crew saying, B-Day is coming, make sure you wear protective clothing. And I'm going, burn it. He didn't tell me that. And they built a prosthetic device. It's basically fortunately, an unused kind of condom piece. And it makes it like a dental dam, I guess. And they put it in there, and then they load the bees in with a vacuum device and told me to close my mouth, and when the cameras roll, just go for it. But when I read the script, I didn't know how they were going to do it, but I knew effect-wise that was something that hadn't been seen. So I like to do things that are different. So, it was I think the terror that both me and Virginia had sort of worked in that moment. Yes.
How much of any Clive Barker have you read before Candyman?
How much Clive Barker had I read before I did Candyman? I was aware of Clive. My reading matter goes more towards Raymond Chandler, detective stuff, a lot of comic books and stuff. I was aware and I had met him, but I can't say that I had an open subscription to this stuff. I was aware of the story that this was based on, The Forbidden, which is like a 35 in the Book of the Dead, I think, part 5. So I knew it was a succinct piece, and I knew he had a crazy, vivid imagination. And when we were shooting, I got to talk to him about where his process came from, and he says it was all based on dreams. I mean, he just dreams and gore, and then writes it down. But then when you talk to him, he's just one of the sweetest guys I've ever known. I mean, he's totally effacing. So sometimes it shows you the opposites. I mean, I guess Anthony Perkins was also in a weird way. Yes, sir. What originally attracted me to it was the passion of the story. I saw it as a love story, and an erotic love story. And as a black actor in Hollywood, there are few opportunities to display any sort of romance on the screen. So I pursued it for that reason. I fought with them over the final cut because there were scenes that were taken out that would have made that more clear. There's a waltz scene that occurs in the movie that probably end up in some director's cut someday. And I also saw him as a mythic person that had clear motivation for why he was doing what he was doing. I mean, whether it's right or wrong, he was a passionate person, and that appealed to me. And the fact that he was an artist really nailed it in the head. Yes, the video camera.
We understand there's going to be a Candyman 2. What do you know about it, and have you agreed to do it?
What do I know about Candyman 2? I know absolutely nothing. There'll be, legally I can't get into it because, but there will be Candyman 2 for 94. I would, they haven't asked me to do it yet, though. No, I would do it in a minute. I don't know about Candyman 3, though. Yes. Am I aware that I became or become?
Yeah, or becoming a legend after.
Yeah, interesting. Am I aware that I'm becoming a legend? I try to, I come from such humble beginnings that I'm not impressed in that stance, but I just spent time in my hometown of Hartford, Connecticut, and It's like I go to the drugstore, I go to get milk, I'm buying a thing of milk, and little kids come and say, "You're buying a thing of milk?" They can't, it's kind of, I'm getting a little, I feel like a deer that's crossing the road in the middle of the night in a weird way. You gotta be careful what you ask for. But yeah, little kids, particularly little black kids in particular, are really moved by this person. I look at him and I try to find out, well, what is it? Why do you really look up to this guy? He's so tall. So I guess it has only to do with height, right? 5 kids who are trying to put something together that, but the point is they're escaping their condition and trying to piece it together. And the reason I got them to work with me was based on Candyman. If I hadn't done Candyman, there's no way I could have gotten these knuckleheads to sit still 2 days a week and develop the talent. So I'm trying to use, I don't want to be impressed by whatever people are feeling by it. I'd rather use that strength and power that I get from it to do things I want to affect, which is make films and make my stories. So I hope I'm able to do that. No, I never, thank you. I couldn't have played him bad. There was some stuff that I wanted to fight against. A, it's been done. B, I didn't see him as a person who enjoyed killing. I thought that he kills for a very specific reason and kills out of a need to have his love reciprocated. So hopefully in part 2 we don't get reduced to a series of slaughter, that they keep it on. I know one scene they were talking about, one image was, we were talking about shooting it in Switzerland at one point, and they have this image of him standing with the cape and the hook with, this blizzard just revolving around him. I like the sound of that, but where the story goes from there, we have to check out carefully. Hello, my friend, how are you? Good, how you been?
The actual story of this legend of Candyman was put in the actual script.
How much of the legend...
Actually came out in the final cut.
Yeah, how much of the legend of Candyman came out in the final cut? Well, there's that dinner room scene where it gets discussed, and I'm glad that stayed in, but I was really trying to push him to shoot the flashbacks, because, when you go to the live theater, a lot of times people go out and decide to put butter on the popcorn right when it's explained. And film is visual, so I think that we could have done that. There was rumors, again, going back to is there a part 2, what's it about? One of the things that we're discussing was filming the prequel and going back to the 1890s and showing that whole love story. But then the studio people are saying, well, the audience that we developed for it might not sit still for a gothic love tale. So as soon as the corporate people get together and decide the best way they can make the profit and justify the creative ends, we'll have it made. Yeah, it's good to see you. Yes?
Were there any differences in the victims' demises between the original and the final cut of the characters that were killed? Yeah, their demises, were they different in any way?
Was there any difference in the victims' demises in the way we shot it in the final cut? No, the killings that you see are there. They're just toned down some. The killing of the psychiatrist was even more brutal, the way we shot it. And no, the violence wasn't changed. The ending that you see in the version that's out was reshot, and that was added for that sort of. They did test marketing on this film, so which I hate these days, because they go out, to some mall somewhere and ask a bunch of kids how they feel the film should end, and they make that decision. I think that's death to the filmmaker. I think you have to have a vision and stick to it. So hopefully that'll be done this time. What's up? Well, are you living here now? What? Phil, journalist, brilliant man, writer. Yes?
What did the original ending consist of?
The original ending was with Helen being buried and then going back into the cavern, and then you would see a mural of the two of us in that lair, somewhat in peace. It was sort of a artsy ending that was more true to the nature of the setup of the story, and less on the cheap thrill side. And again, that was part of the whole love story thing. But, you know, who wants love? We don't need love all the time. Yes. Okay. Nowadays? Okay. To watch people, it was certainly effective, but you know, it's borderline on the thrillish side. You know, I mean, it was months later after they shot that. The cast was mixed from L.A. and New York, and they're just theater and method trained people who like find reasons not just shoot. They got, but why am I shooting? And you know, some people say, well, there's a problem with method. It's whatever they do with it. I think the problem now is the delicacy of timing and how to find a way to salvage the footage and find the timing and releasing it so it's not as morbid as it is right now. In terms of Brandon's legacy, I think that he's something to be proud of. And I played like a corporate hitman that completely different from Candyman. And wore glasses and stuff. It was fun. Yes? Yeah, J.O. Barr was involved. He was a writer of the graphic novel, for those of you that don't know. Yeah, he came to the set at least 5 times. So he gave it his blessings. And the weird thing is that if you read the graphic novel, Brandon has an amazing physical resemblance to the character. So I think he was perfectly cast. So I have a film coming out May 14th, I believe, called Excessive Force, with a gentleman named Thomas Ian Griffith, who was the guy to watch. And it also features Lance Henriksen, who I was hoping to see today, and James Earl Jones, Charlotte Lewis, and Burt Young. So it's a suburban action, kind of a constant sex drugs like role. And filmed in Chicago is one of my favorite cities. Yes. Did I enjoy doing the role in Night of the Living Dead? Yeah. I did, yeah. I'm a big fan of the original. I was in Pittsburgh shooting what we call Criminal Justice with Forrest Whitaker and Rosie Perez. And I heard that Tom Savini was doing it, and I literally walked into the production office and said I have to be in this movie. And he agreed with me. And what's weird about that, you know, you look back on stuff and choices you make, and because around that same time, there weren't firm offers, but I had chances to get involved in New Jack City and Love Field, and I made a commitment to do Night, and then, you know, and I don't regret it, because at that time I thought the New Jack script was a drug glorification thing, and I still feel that. Even though Night didn't do as well initially, box office wise, I don't care. I'm not concerned about being a star. So I'm proud of it. And people that fight it. You know, I wish that Tom had been able to sustain his vision. And hopefully, if he comes to directs in the future, he'll really dig in and give him the opportunity to really fly.